All right. Hey there, modern math teacher. So earlier this week, I started thinking about something. If I'm becoming more intentional about technology, then what is that actually going to be looking like? Because, it's like one thing to say, we should use technology intentionally, right? But it's another thing to decide, okay, so what stays, what changes, what do I want my classroom to actually look like next year? And while I'm thinking about that, the answers popping into my head have kind of surprised me because some of the technology I'm most excited about next year isn't new technology at all. So, hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode of Poolside PD on the Modern Math Teacher podcast. Today, I want to talk to you guys about some more of the tools that I'm keeping, tools I'm rethinking, and what intentional technology integration actually looks like in my math classroom, and the two frameworks that help me think differently about technology use. So if you're up for it, let's do this. Now, recap from last episode, I am not anti-tech, right? Let's start there because whenever teachers start questioning technology, people assume that they're anti-tech, but that is not me. I still love all those same tools that I talked about because they can be really incredible, right? Things like Snorkl, Delta Math, Desmos, ASSISTments, all of those can be really fantastic. But I've started thinking about that more difficult question, or different question, I should say. What is the technology helping the students to do? And so if the answer is it is helping them to think or explore or visualize or receive feedback, fantastic. But if the answer is avoiding, copying, clicking through, staying passive in their learning, then that's going to be a hard pass for me, friend. We're going to have to go ahead and rethink that. So I mentioned that I'm thinking learning first, technology second. I want to always be thinking about how is the technology supporting and enhancing the learning if my students are going to be using it at all, right? I want my students to be talking, thinking up at the whiteboards, reasoning, arguing, making predictions, problem solving together before they ever think about touching a screen, okay? And that's, again, not because I don't want them using technology. It's because I don't want technology replacing that really prime mathematical thinking. I want technology amplifying it. And those are two very different goals. So TPACK and SAMR, if those acronyms make your eyes glaze over, stay with me here because I don't think these frameworks are useful because we need another educational acronym. Goodness knows we have enough of those. I think they're useful because they force us to ask better questions. So for me, TPACK is really helping me ask, does this technology support the content that I'm teaching? Does it support the instructional approach that I'm using? Or am I just using it because it's available, right? Because technology, for technology's sake, is not what I am going for here. The best technology really sits at the intersection of the content, the pedagogy, and the technology, right? And that's where some of the best lessons can happen. Not because you've got an amazing tool, but because the tool is supporting the learning goal, okay? So I want you guys to be thinking back to those days of the TPACK model. And then there is SAMR, and this is the one I couldn't remember everything exactly in the last episode. It asks us to think about whether, and I had to write this down now, whether technology is substituting, augmenting, modifying, or redefining the learning, okay? And so that's got me thinking, is this actually creating a better learning experience, or am I just turning a regular worksheet into a digital worksheet? Because those are not the same things, right? Oh my gosh, guys. I don't know what it is with technology today, but evidently I turned off my do not disturb and everyone's blowing me up. But, that is technology, and that is one of the problems with it. It's constantly buzzing and trying to get our attention. So we've got to be careful with our students with that same thing as well. Okay, but back to the SAMR. Sometimes the answer is really just that a paperwork sheet is 100% fine. Not every activity needs technology. Not every lesson is going to need technology. And the goal isn't to move everything onto a screen. The goal is to improve our learning. Okay, so this is the return of the calculator, and you saw me talk about the 3 calculators that I have and use with my students in the last episode. I'm still really curious about this TI-84 because I've underutilized it. 100%, I know that, right? And I started thinking that my students could just use Desmos. And while Desmos is amazing, I think graphing calculators have their place because I want the students to be doing the reasoning and problem solving and talking about it with their peer without having that screen interference. And so being able to use the TI-84 or any other graphing calculator that you have, I think is just going to be so helpful in supporting that discussion and discourse in my classroom because the students can problem solve. They can look at these together. I'm excited to see what these look like as I get to learn how to graph these things. And like I said, I just need to get better at these. So if you're really good at these, can you please share something with me so that I know how to do with them? Because I know these calculators can do so much more than I've ever asked them to do. And I'm really excited to learn. So if you've got any favorite TI-84 tricks, activities, or resources, please send them my way because I am really genuinely interested in digging deeper with that. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about some tools that are still going to get a big yes from me. I am still going to be using digital tools for students to get immediate feedback on their procedural practice. Okay, and that's going to come in two forms for me. So we as a district really enjoy using Delta Math to give our students that repetition that they need while it has the videos and the hints. And so we use that. Every single section that I teach within a unit, right? So in illustrative math, each unit is broken up into sections. And so for each section, I will assign one Delta Math assignment, and we call it their skills practice because it's really just that procedural practice that they need for all of the procedures we're learning that they don't get a lot of repetition with in the program by itself. We also use that as their final assessment for the unit and their final assessments for the midterm and the final at the end of the year. Okay, so that's going to stay. Number 2, ASSISTments. I'm really excited about this one. I didn't get to demo it during our pilot, but other teachers did, and they had great feedback. I love the illustrative math curriculum practice problems because they really get your students thinking in those different ways. And I really still want to be able to capture that. So we're using a hybrid system this year where our students are going to be completing the work in their workbook and then submitting it to ASSISTments so that they get that immediate feedback and they can self-correct and, accessibility and all of that, right? Because even if they forgot their book at home or at school or wherever it is, they have access to the exact same problems, okay? I love that students are going to record their work in their workbook, receive feedback digitally. That's my ideal. Paper thinking, digital feedback. Love that. Chef's kiss. And the last one I'm for sure going to keep is Snorkl because, like I said in the last episode, hearing students explain their thinking can be so powerful. And I love seeing the interaction that goes back and forth between them. It's also already aligned to illustrative math, which is awesome for me. If you have not checked out Snorkl, please do. Every time I've ever done an AI presentation through the Bureau of Ed or just presenting to my peers, Snorkl has always been a game changer. So give that one a look, Snorkl, okay? All right, so here is the best way that I can explain where my head is right now, and this is going to be the millennial in me. We're calling this the Hannah Montana model. Why? Because it is the best of both worlds. I want the paper and pencil thinking. I want the discussions. I want the whiteboards. I want me the calculators, okay? But also, I want the immediate feedback, the digital supports, the accessibility tools, and thoughtful technology, both at the same time, not one or the other, because I do not think the answer is fully digital anything. I also don't think the answer is fully analog either. It's about being really intentional and having the best of both worlds. And honestly, when I think about TPACK and SAMR, neither framework is telling me to use more technology. They're asking me to use the right technology at the right time for the right purpose. And that's the kind of training that I think more teachers need. Because after COVID, everything went digital. We all went all in on everything in ed tech. And there are ways we can be more intentional with it and leverage it for better outcomes. Okay? That's going to be the difference for us. So right now, what I'm thinking for my vision for the future, and again, it's June, this might change up, but we're beginning class with that great I am lesson that's bringing in the discussion, the thinking, the collaboration, the things that I want. And then in the middle of class, right, we're doing that consolidation, that note-taking, that processing and internalizing what it was that we did back in our seats, in our workbooks, right? And at the end of the class, the students are going to be working through those practice problems and maybe using ASSISTments to check it, or maybe they're working on their procedural skills practice in Delta Math. Technology is going to become purposeful, not constant. And honestly, that's going to improve both the engagement and the learning in my classroom. And I'm really excited about that. So the biggest thing I'm learning right now, I guess, is this. Technology is not a teaching strategy, guys. Please remember, it is just a tool, and all tools need to be used responsibly. Like any tool, its value depends on the ways in which we use it. So again, I'm trying not to use more technology. I'm trying to use better technology and to use technology better. And again, those are very different goals. So as we're wrapping up, here is something I would love for you guys to think about and answer here by messaging the show, or go engage in a group discussion on this in the Modern Math Teacher community on Facebook. If you removed every piece of technology from one of your lessons, what learning would be lost and what learning might actually improve? There's not necessarily a right answer. It's just something worth considering. All right, guys, if you're trying to think more intentionally about how students learn, whether that's when you should use projects, performance tasks, or practice when they make the most sense, I've got that free guide to help. As always, that's linked in the show notes. And don't forget to grab your copy of Math Therapy before we do our July book study. The audiobook and physical book are both linked to Amazon in the show notes here. All right, you guys, keep pondering how you're going to use technology in the classroom. And until next time, keep it real.